Hello everyone, Book Villainess here. Welcome back to another chapter of the First Page Club, where we read the first page of an indie author's book to help give them the spotlight they deserve. Today's edition is The Letter He Never Sent by Henry Daniel Archunde Jr. From rainy Arizona nights to small-town cafes and worn shoe boxes filled with unsent letters, The Letter He Never Sent is a story about what love becomes when it must wait. It asks what it means to forgive, rebuild, and believe that sometimes the smallest words, like "Hi, I'm here, I stayed," can carry a lifetime. This is a moving portrait of loss, hope, and the fragile beauty of finding one's way home. Here we go. Prologue, The Taking. The night smelled of rain and rust when they took Eleanor away. Sierra Mesa, Arizona, was caught between seasons that day, the kind of winter evening when the desert forgot its own heat and the clouds pressed low, thick with their rare promise. Rain gathered in the gutters. It slicked the courthouse steps and traced slow lines through the dust that never truly washed off its stone. Miles Bennett stood at the bottom of those steps, rain sliding down his neck, watching the red dress vanish into the blur of headlights. The woman wearing it, Lydia Harper, moved with the extraordinary precision of someone who had already decided what the world owed her. Her lipstick matched the dress, painted red like warning signs and stoplights, the kind of color that made surrender look deliberate. When she buckled Eleanor into the car seat, she did not look back, not at him, not at the man who had whispered only loving things to that child every night of her 8 months on earth, humming old lullabies off-key until her fists unclenched and sleep found her. The car door closed with a sound like the end of something. Then the engine turned. The tires hissed on the wet street, and Miles was left standing there with nothing but his own reflection rippling in the puddles. Inside the courthouse, the echo of the gavel still rang in his ears. The judge's voice measured, distant, and had pronounced what felt like a sentence, though no crime had been named. "You lack stability, Mr. Bennett. Love, while admirable, is not a legal foundation." Miles had nothing to give the judge but words, and words are soft currency when the world demands proof. He had said, "I love her," and the law had replied, "Do you have a lease in your name? Do you have pay stubs? A refrigerator with food?" He had told the truth, that the roof above him was borrowed, that hunger had left its gray thumbprint on too many days, that he was trying to become the kind of man who could hold a life steady. The gavel found the wood, a sound too small for what it ended. Lydia's lawyer gathered his papers with practiced calm, his eyes already elsewhere, on the following case, the following story that was not this one. Across the aisle, Miles sat as if the air itself had turned solid, the silence heavy enough to bruise. Somewhere down the hall, a clerk laughed at a joke that would survive the afternoon, proof that the world, indifferent and tireless, was already moving on. But Miles was not yet. He stayed long after the room emptied, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles ached. His heart was shaped like a house, with every door locked. When he finally stepped outside, the rain had grown meaner. It fell sideways under the courthouse lights, sharp as pins. Miles walked with his head down, his breath ghosting in the cold, his thoughts spilling backward through every choice that had led him here. He had no umbrella. His shoes were soaked through the toes. Every few blocks, a car passed and splashed water over his cuff, but he barely noticed. His mind was somewhere else, with the child in the yellow dress, the one whose hair smelled faintly of milk and morning. In his pocket, he felt for the ribbon, pale yellow, frayed at one edge, still sweet with the powdery scent of Eleanor's drawer. He had tied it around her wrist once, when she was only weeks old, pretending it was a bracelet. She had waved it like sunlight. He walked past shuttered storefronts and a diner still open, the neon sign flickering eat and half-hearted persistence. A man inside mopped the floor, humming a tune Miles almost recognized. When he reached his small apartment, one room above the laundromat, he did not bother with the lights. The hum of the machines below rattled the floor, familiar and grounding. He hung his coat on a nail, placed the ribbon on the windowsill, and stood for a moment watching the rain collect on the glass. The city shimmered under the storm. The streetlights burned in puddles like miniature drowned suns. Somewhere nearby, thunder grumbled across the valley, and the sound rolled through his chest like grief learning how to breathe. Miles sat on the mattress, the only furniture he owned, besides a table and chair, and tried to memorize what remained. The slope of Eleanor's cheek against his chest, the way her fingers curled around his shirt as though fabric could be an anchor against the tide. Lydia's red, he thought, was the color of stop signs, of sirens, of every door closing. Around him lay the colors that would follow for years, the brown of second-hand furniture, the gray of winter windows, the watered blue of cheap dish soap that never quite cut the grease. Still, when the lamp warmed the room to its small gold, he could believe in a softer world. He could believe in candles and birthdays, in promises made to an empty seat at the table. That night, he began a habit that became a kind of prayer. Miles found a half-used composition notebook, one that had once held grocery lists, phone numbers, reminders of a different kind of life, and opened it to a clean page. The apartment was too quiet. The clock ticked like distant footsteps. The scent of Eleanor's baby blanket lingered on the back of his chair. He could not bring himself to move it. He pressed the pen down, and the words came out trembling, but true. My little star, tonight I heard the sky crying and thought it was you. I know it is not. You are held. You are fed. You are sleeping. Your breath is small and brave, unaware that the world has already made choices for us both. They told me I am not enough. I am not yet, but I am your father, and if there is any strength in me at all, I will spend it loving you, even if all I have left are these letters, written to the space where you should be. Miles set the pen down and stared at the ink until it blurred. Somewhere outside, a train passed. A sound like distance made real, and for the first time since the gavel fell, Miles Bennett let himself cry. There you have it. That was the first page and a little more of the prologue. If you want to find out the rest of the story, you need to find the letter he never sent. Okay? Make sure you give love to the author, and I will talk to you soon. I love you. You know I do.